Hello. Welcome to episode 3 of Polly Rambles. I know it's been like months and ages, but it's going to be worth it, I promise. Just wanted to quickly say thank you to Practice for the intro tune. I know that was very basic, but I'll play more of it throughout this, like when I need like a little drinking break or something like that. So it should be fine. But yeah, welcome back, Hey there, fellow nerds. This is Polly. And I've been doing Polly Rambles since the last year. And I just took a big hiatus like for a long time. And I was trying to get back into it. And the goal is to try to release a Polly Rambles on the 15th of every month. I know like most podcasts probably come out like every week or every 2 weeks or something, but I can't do it like that. So I'm gonna start with just once a month and just have fun with it because I really enjoy making these and learning about podcasting and audio and just everything that goes along with it. It's just a great time. But yeah, as you can tell, this is gonna be completely uncut. So I might run into things that like I don't know, we might stumble, whatever, but we're just gonna keep it all in there because I feel like it's more legitimate, especially when I'm talking about something like the topic I'm gonna be addressing today. I think it's really important to be able to do that. So now that we finally got here to episode 3, you know, episode 2, I don't know if you've listened to that, but it was rough. And this episode will be the final closure to all of that. Before I really start to embrace the new direction I hope to go in, and Poly Rambles is obviously going to be a big part of that. So this episode is going to be about my journey so far after dealing with the aftermath of my abuse and the fallout between me and the Jack community. A lot has changed, and I want to document the growth I've gone through. I think all of that started, like all that drama and everything, started in 2021, like early 2021. And then at the beginning of 2022 is when I spoke up and told, the Jack speedrunning community about what was going on and the aftermath. I explained that in episode 2. You can go back and listen to that if you want. But yeah, the whole aftermath and all of that happened. And here we are, I think like 7 months or so, and it's September now. Oh my goodness, it's amazingly like I'm just so shocked that it's already September. I feel like this year just flew by. But anyways, so yeah, it's like September now. And I think I actually made the video about the whole abuse situation on February 2nd. So it's been a while. It's been a lot. And I think I wanted the last episode to be my closure, but I think I was definitely way too emotionally attached still at that point. I didn't realize how much this was going to impact my life, and it really did have a huge impact on me. And that's something that I really hope, somebody who listens to this can try to relate to because um it's just it's hard. Like a lot of when you have a lot of people trying to tell you that what you went through wasn't that serious or wasn't that bad, it makes you start to second guess yourself and wonder if something's wrong with you. And I had to go through all those emotions and get to where I am now, where I know that how I feel and everything is justified. Well, how I feel, my feelings are justified, not what happened, obviously, but like I understand myself better now. I understand the other people involved better. Even if I don't like what I understand it at this point. And I think that's a really good process, a really good place to be in the healing journey because, that is basically telling, that's basically a big step. So like obviously in the beginning, you're going to be grieving, you're going to be hurting, and I was crying a lot. It was just such a bad time to look back on it. It's actually like, wow, I was that person. Like that's how it feels for me to think back to it. But like I was like crying almost on a daily basis, just full of anger and rage and just disappointment. And it was just so many negative emotions all at once that were just blowing up. And it's just not the kind of person I like to be. So I'm really glad to have made it past all that. But, that's why I wanted this episode to be about that process. And we're going to get to it. So, we're going to take a little music break for a second, and then we will be coming back for we're gonna get into how therapy had the biggest impact on me. All right, catch y'all soon. Hello, hello. I'm experimenting with the music thing, so if you're like, what the hell? Sorry, I'm gonna always be transparent when I'm doing this type of stuff. Like I'm learning as I go along, so it is what it is. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. Shout out to Practice again. Thank you for making it. Um, really dope of him. He's a stream viewer and he made that song for me and really appreciate him. He's a big supporter of the streams and me as a person. So yeah. But yeah, so we're just gonna get into how therapy saved me, I guess. And I would say that the reason why I can see the progress I've made so clearly is because I've been going to therapy and it truly shows me my growth over time and like a really clear view. I feel like if I wasn't going to therapy, it'd be really hard to consolidate it all. But I feel like since I have been going to therapy so consistently, I can definitely look back at past appointments and be like, "Oh, I was at a completely different point at like at that point in time, and now I'm at this place." And it's a really nice way for me to just have a whole storyboard of my progress. Um, Obviously, I'm not going to remember every little detail, but I'm going to try to go into the major things that had an impact. So I started therapy in June. So the original drama started in 2021. Um, what happened is I had a really bad breakup with an ex at the time after coming out as polyamorous and bi. Obviously, we're not going to go too deep into that because you can just go to the episode 2 for that. But yeah, that was very traumatic for me. And that's when I started talking, like not too long before that breakup is when I started talking to my abuser. So I started therapy like 6 months after that whole breakup, and I've been talking to my abuser for a few months at that point. Um, and like I recall, like early on in my therapy session, a lot of my therapy sessions were focused on like recovering from the breakup because there was a lot of manipulation, lies, and gaslighting, and just toxic behaviors in that relationship that had a big impact on me. So I had to do a lot of healing with that personally. Um, so like a lot of my therapy time was focusing on that, and things were really rough at first because I was distraught about my ex. I put way too much trust into uh you know, my abuser and her enabler to be people I could fully trust. And I shared a whole lot with them in the beginning, especially the abuser about that relationship and like what hurt me, what has a huge effect on me. Like I fully trusted this person and told them way more than I should have very early on. Um so even though at first my therapy centered around getting over my ex and that the trauma with leaving and everything like that, at the same time, I recall very early on desperately trying to maintain the relationship with my abuser, even though I knew deep down I wasn't being treated right. So, like, very early on, I was already not being treated right. Like, things were great probably in like the first few months or something like that. But, like, I started seeing the signs that were concerning very early on. And I remember going to therapy in the beginning, trying to make time to talk about my abuser and how I was having issues with them and how I was concerned about how they're behaving. I was concerned about how they're treating me at times. And that just started the whole entire journey. And looking back now, I realize that like I always catch on to these things very early, but I just tell myself it's not that bad. And that's a mistake and something I need to get better at. And a big misconception about this whole situation is that I didn't show full conversations to anyone about what happened. I didn't give adequate amount of evidence. None of that's true. Like the evidence is more than enough to prove everything that I was trying to claim. They're just upset that I didn't give the surrounding conversations to the ableism and the acknowledgement of the fact that there was abuse going on. And to me, um, I was asked to give the evidence that, the exact evidence for those things for ableism. So I gave exact situations where ableism was occurred. And I gave evidence where, you know, the enabler, made it clear that they knew that this person was abusive and weren't doing anything about it. Like that's all you need to know. Like if you want some context, you can ask. Like it's fine, but at this point, I already knew what it was. I just gave you the evidence that proves exactly what I was saying to you, and that's it. Because there's no excuse for ableism. There's no excuse for enabling. Nothing I say makes that okay. So I didn't understand the whole thing where they were trying to um get on me for not giving context. Well, I didn't give them context because that's not what they asked for, but I gave context to other people, my therapist and Dan, my long-term partner. Like we've reviewed full conversations with my abuser multiple times, countless times. I would literally give Dan, my partner, like my phone, and he would just go through it. Like if we had an argument or something, and I'm just confused as to what happened, I would give him my phone. And yeah, some people might say that's a breach of privacy, but that's something I've learned to do because I know I'm autistic. I know I don't always understand everything. And I'm trying to protect myself from harm because I know very well that sometimes I don't do anything when someone's being abusive and toxic. I just, give them the benefit of the doubt. And sometimes I need someone to look at what's happening and kind of be like, hey, this is not right. And that's basically what my therapist and Dan were collectively doing in their own ways. Sure, there were things that I did, and I wasn't perfect the entire time, but um, I did not deserve the treatment that my ex or my abuser gave me in any way, shape, or form. And anybody who reads the full conversations will be able to figure that one out. It's not complicated. It wasn't hard. I don't know what is wrong with the people who were looking at the evidence. I really don't. But um, it is what it is. But we would go over full conversations and stuff, and it would help me a lot. And like I would just learn from my therapist that this person, the abuser, this person you're trying to be friends with, they don't seem like they're in a good, healthy mental state themselves. And you also weren't in a good mental state yourself coming out of from a abuse from another relationship. you know you're gullible, you're more vulnerable in the beginning, so you could be falling into a trap with this person. And I just didn't see it because I just was so happy to have new friendships, as in my abuser and enabler in my life that were in the community that I loved. I was excited about it, and it was helping me with my healing with the ex partner. And I admit that I didn't really think all of this through because of that. So eventually, it got to the point where I knew deep down that things would never change with my abuser, and my partner and therapist were literally both slowly trying to encourage me to leave the relationship. Even people that I no longer associate with in the Jack speed running community were trying to tell me that, hey, this is not healthy. You need to get out of this relationship. This is toxic. But I always wanted to fix things. I always want to be a fixer. I'm very committed to my relationships, and I would do anything to fix any problems that present themselves. And sometimes it's a strength, and other times it's one of my greatest flaws. And in this situation, it was a flaw because um, there was no fixing this because nothing I would do would change the outcome. what needed to happen required the abuser and enabler to change their actions. And since they didn't care enough to do that, nothing would ever improve. But I kept hanging on, hoping that that wouldn't be the case. And that's just not healthy. Um, People show you who they are. So when I was being shown who they both were, I should have just took that and moved on and found better people. But, um, you know, that's something I will get to a little bit later. But, I know that me being a fixer can cause a lot of problems in relationships. It's a trait that can really irritate people. And unfortunately, my abuser was one of those people. And I will cover more of that later. But I just want to talk about some patterns I noticed about most of the toxic people in my life, mainly the abuser and my ex partner. A big part of my growth was realizing that there are patterns and similarities in the failed relationships in my life. So, for starters, all of them have been people that, they don't have a lot of healthy relationships in their life. And they hide behind the few they have as evidence that their behaviors are okay. So, like, I don't want to go too personal into it, but like with my ex partner, you know, she was literally manipulative and lying to so many people in her life. And I would bring that up constantly, being like, you should want to get out of a situation where you have to lie and hurt people. Because to me, it didn't feel right. And I was trying to be respectful of her and not, force her to do anything. But in my mind, staying in a situation where you're going to have to continuously lie to people doesn't feel right, and you should be trying to get out of that as quickly as possible. But in their mind, they had no intentions on ever really having to do that. So they didn't care about the fact that they're lying and manipulating people and hurting them and all this nonsense. All they cared about is the fact that they're okay right now and they can get away with doing this for as long as possible. They're going to do it. And in their mind, I'm the one who's disrupting their peace by coming in and being like, "Hey, you probably shouldn't be lying and manipulative and like going to other people and like I determined that I think this ex partner was like narcissistic, so like I let them into my stream community and they started latching on to like multiple people in that community, and like even the people in my community could see the toxicness in their character. Like they're just in most relationships to use people to get what they needed. Like she even ended up asking like someone from my stream community for money, and they barely even knew each other, but she knew for a fact that they kind of had a crush on her, so she likes to use that as a reason to get stuff from people. So she was doing that to me. She was doing that to someone from long distance, and like she would just do this stuff to a lot of people all at once, and say different things to different people, lies, and it was really toxic. And I'm not saying all narcissists are toxic people, but she definitely was one, and she knew that she was causing harm, but didn't care. And when it comes to my abuser, they did have a longer term partner that they were with, but it's very clear to me that they were living like two lives. So I'm pretty sure their partner knows them and is really close to them and they have a great relationship in to some extent, but there's definitely a lot that it was very obvious to me that they don't communicate with each other at all. And that's just not how I function in relationships. So to me that felt really weird when I would hear about that and learn about that. Um but I'll get to more of that later, but um both of them um have unhealthy relationships in their lives. My abuser had a lot of people in her life that would just enable her behaviors and do nothing about it. And I've spoken to people who have proven this to me. Um, so like it's no surprise to me. It's just I did all the evidence and the work that the moderators should have done, but so I have all the info that they don't have, but uh there's definitely a lot of unhealthy relationships in their lives, and they were just okay with that. So another thing I noticed is that a lot of them are emotionally unavailable. And this is a really big one. They just can't handle someone caring for them in the way that I do as a friend or partner. So instead of communicating, I have to find out the hard way through them getting so fed up with me that they turn abusive or they start mistreating me, they start being manipulative. In my mind, it's almost like they just blow up because from my perspective, I have no idea why they're doing this and they're upset at me. And then all of a sudden they just blow up and I'm getting like mistreated and I'm like what's happening? What's wrong? And I would never really get a clear answer from either of them or even people in my past, further in my past, because the reality of it is they're just emotionally unavailable. They're not able to do that type of communication. They're not able to go to that level. That's not something they're ready for or it's not something they want to do. They're not there. So me trying to be or connect with them on a deeper emotional level isn't possible because they can't do it. They can't get there for whatever reason. And that's something that I notice is very common with a lot of the people I try to associate with. So that's something I need to figure out. Like I'm just tend to try to get close to people who are emotionally unavailable. So it's something I need to think more about. But it's definitely something I noticed in both of them. I also feel like they're all deeply insecure, and I know I have insecurities too. So I'm not trying to say this as oh they're insecure. I'm so secure. Like no one's doing that. But I do feel like they're deeply insecure and think that anything that's said about them is an attack on their character instead of just something they can improve on, which is like my mindset. Um, like my mindset for things like growth and self improvement is just so much different than a lot of these people I've interacted with. Like in their mind, saying something bad about them is like a complete attack on who they are, and it's so upsetting to them. But I feel like for me, since I'm so absorbed in that growth mindset, it doesn't hurt me to work on things that I'm not good at because I know that doesn't define me. So I just don't think of it in the way that they do, and I'll definitely get to that later. They also both got irritated with me for caring too much for them. Like this is a very common pattern that happens to me with a lot of people. It seems bizarre, right? You know, but it makes a lot of sense upon reflection. Um, they just get so fed up and they blow up because I am caring so much for them that I want them to be better, not only for me but for themselves and the people around them. And they're not used to that. Like it seems like they're comfortable doing exactly what they're doing and not changing a thing. And when I come into their life and I get close to them and I hear about the things that they're doing and the problems that they have and how people around them aren't helping or doing anything, I do the exact opposite. I tell them, hey, this isn't healthy. This is something that we can both work on. This is something that you can work on. It's something I can work on. I can be there, encourage you and support you. But they don't see it as encouragement and support. They see it as irritation, stress, something that's infuriating and gets them fed up and makes them think bad about themselves. In reality, the truth comes out and interacting with me forces them to confront their flaws. And naturally, I would try to encourage them to address their flaws, but they're so used to people enabling them and just not caring about what flaws they have and not addressing it, not making a big deal about it, just, sticking to the status quo. So they associate all that discomfort that confronting your flaws, brings. They associate that with me as a person when it's not really me that they're upset with. They're upset with their own behaviors and their own toxicity. They're upset with being faced with the truth of their behaviors. And they're just taking it out on the person who's pointing it out to them, even though I'm not judging them. Like, I'm literally not that kind of person. Like, I don't judge people for the things that they do wrong. I just want them to address them. That's literally it. And I think that part of their insecurities sees that as an attack instead of as, hey, this person actually cares enough to tell me the truth. I don't know. But there's some patterns I noticed with me as well that I think are really important to get into. So things I noticed that I tend to do with almost everybody that I try to have a relationship with is I desire a sense of closeness that most people just do not care for. Um, the kind of closeness and intensity that I desire out of relationships is very, very deep, very, very different from most people in their relationships. And um, it took a while to accept that. Like a lot of the times things don't work out because I am looking for something that other people don't care to have. And that's just something I have to get better at. Learning to notice and accept, when other people show me that. I can also get pretty desperate to save and maintain any relationship, even when it's beyond saving, and nothing I do will make a difference. Uh, for a fact, with my abuser, I knew for a long time that nothing I would do changed anything. And that's why it was getting so abusive and toxic because they were constantly making it seem like it was my fault and like I'm the one that needs to change and be better and do things so they don't have to be irritated and annoyed and abuse me. And, I would change things. Like I was steadily changing as I was going through therapy. I was talking about the things I was going through and I was making changes because that's the type of person I am. I actually make changes in my day to day life. And that's why I can analyze my growth over a period of time. So like I knew I was changing, but her behavior was never changing. And that is what made me realize that there's nothing I can do that would make them stop abusing me. Nothing. They have to admit that they're abusive and do something about it. Otherwise, it never ends. But I still stuck around. And at the end, I was so upset because the abuser wanted to end the relationship. And I think in their mind, they were looking for a way for them to end it so that it can look like, it's just I just want to end the friendship type situation. But in my mind, before, that the relationship ended, they had just confessed to me that they know that they're abusive. They know that they're hurting me. They're sorry and they will address it. Just give me time. And I gave them that time. And then they just drop off the face of the earth. So to me, that's why I was so upset because I never got my justice. I never got what I was promised. Oh God. I never got what I was, you know, I never got what I was promised and that was frustrating for me at the time. It was hurtful. Like I don't like the idea of someone finally admitting that they've been hurting me and then they just do nothing about it. And that to me made it feel like it's okay to just be abusive and then just be like, "Yeah, I'm leaving." And to me that's not okay because you can't just get away with the abuse and harm you've caused someone else just because you don't want to put up with it anymore. You don't want to face the facts. That doesn't take away what you did to me and all the harm you caused. But yeah, I also see relationships in a very different way than my ex-partner and abuser do. Uh, relationships are important to me in a way and I can tell that like relationships matter to me in a way that with them and most other people it's just not on that level for them. Like they just don't see relationships in the same way. And it's something I tried so hard to explain to my abuser, but it was so hard to explain anything to them without them just lashing out and thinking they know better. But like, maybe they care about relationships in some way that I just don't understand. But I feel like the way I think about relationships is just like so much different from their way of thinking about them that like there is always going to be conflict in that sense because they can't see past what they understand. Even though I can see past what I understand and see that that was causing a conflict, they can't get anywhere because they don't want to see it. They don't want to understand how I see things. They want to, demonize or say that the way I do things is wrong and flawed and you just can't get anywhere with that. So it's something that I'm more aware of now. Like, if I can tell that there are people that don't really see relationships in their life the same way I do, uh like that could potentially be a conflict in the future, so I need to be aware of that. And finally, the biggest thing that I constantly do in every relationship is I care intensely. I have a big heart and I'm a growth and solution focused person to the extreme, to the extreme. That is the core of who I am. And most people cannot keep up with that. And it's not even to say that I'm better than other people or smarter or more capable. No, it's not to say that. It's just that that is the core of who I am. That's what I've done since I was a child. That's how I think about life. That's my motivation in life. So, like, most people don't think like that. They haven't lived a life where that is their biggest motivation. So, for them, it's not, they can't keep up with me because I've been doing this for almost my entire life. So like it's not like I blame them, but at the same time, sometimes it's hard for me to understand people that don't have that same mindset because like that's all I've known. Um, so like sometimes I have to kind of remind myself that this is something that's very unique about me as a person. Like not there's not a lot of people out there who care as much as I do about people and doing the right thing and relationships. So um and a lot of the times that care can be misconstrued and frustrate people and, push them away and make them irritated because they can't do it on that same level. And they feel like because I'm doing it at a level, they have to match it. And if they can't match it, they'll never be good enough. And it's something that I notice is a trend in some relationships I have where um, they just think that they're not going to ever be able to meet the standards that I'm putting out, but I'm not putting out standards. I'm just being who I am, and they're thinking that that means that I'm putting out standards. And that's how I know that obviously there's nothing I can do about that. I've tried to communicate the opposite to them, but a lot of these people just they just think what they want to think regardless of what I tell them. But it's something that I remind myself of a lot. Like this is something that is true about me that I can't change. It's just who I am, and some people are just not going to be able to handle that, and I have to be able to recognize that and distance myself from those people or remove those people from my life because it's never going to get better unless they can be understanding and accepting, which most people in this situation obviously cannot. So I see aspects of myself that, people like my ex partner and abuser just cannot accept or understand. It is what it is. We just don't see the world, relationships, and communication the same way. We both have, I mean, we all have our issues with communication. I have my issues with it, and they had their individual issues. And the only way for that to ever work is if both people are willing to come together, compromise, and work on themselves. And I always feel like I'm the one willing to do that, but they just don't want that. They want things to just stay the same and be easy for them. And I'm trying to make everything all complicated and say, hey, change this, be a better person, communicate better, communicate more clearly, listen to people, don't insult me. And they're like, nah, I'm going to do my ish over here. Frick you. So, um, and I get it. Like, they have a right to do whatever they want in their life. The problem is just that their response is to abuse, manipulate, and hurt. And that's what's not acceptable. It's always their fault for turning abusive, manipulative, toxic, etc. If they want to just be a toxic person, I just wish they would just tell me that, admit that that's the kind of person you are, and then I can just easily leave. But I keep staying because I keep telling myself this person isn't as bad as they're showing me. And the reality of it is, yes, they are. And I'm just delusional and I'm just sticking here and hoping that there will be a better person one day. And that just never happens. Um, so instead of waiting for them to tell me who they are, I have to just realize that they're already telling me with their actions. And I need to step away. I need to back up because this person is not someone I should be close to. And understanding those patterns within myself and within a lot of those past relationships has helped me a whole lot with my just my healing and growth because it doesn't excuse what they've done to me, but it gives me a better understanding of why they might have done it, and I can make peace of that and be more likely to prevent this from happening to me again. All right, we're just gonna take another quick break and play some music a little bit, and then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna continue talking about Dan and I's relationship. I said I was gonna continue with that a bit later, and I think our relationship's really important to my growth and my understanding of my growth over time. So I really want to cover that in more detail. So we'll be right back and um, enjoy the music. Hello, hello, hello. Are we back in the ish? We back in the ish. How are y'all doing? Yeah. I guess we're just gonna continue with Dan and I's relationship. Um, the reason why I wanted to cover this more is one, like me and Dan have almost been together for like 12 years, and like sometimes I take for granted like how long that is and how much you learn in a relationship like that. If you've been with someone that long, you have to have grown and gone through a lot together. And that's the case with us. And I feel like a lot of the times I, downplay how much I've learned and how much I understand about people and relationships because of how much we've been through together. And now I think I'm finally going to stop doing that. So, you know, over time, especially during this time I've been in therapy, like I've come to fully understand myself, what I want out of relationships, what I want from partners and friends. I understand that the closeness I desire is something only a few can handle. And I'm coming to terms with that and accepting it. Um so Dan, my long-term partner, he gets me and understands me better than anyone. I think that our relationship is something most people don't achieve in life. And I'm not trying to say this to make it seem like, oh, I'm better and our relationship's better. Like, no. It's just to say that, through my process of going to therapy and talking about all these relationships, including Dan, um, I realized that even though we definitely have our issues individually and as partners, a lot of what, I'm looking for in others is already in that relationship with really in my relationship with Dan. Our relationship has been through so many challenges and we are so close, comfortable and honest with each other in a way that other people rarely are. It's definitely something unique and I see it as an accomplishment. Like most people probably don't have this type of relationship with somebody in their life. And that's something I should be proud of and see as something that, gives me an understanding and knowledge that some people might not have. So the kind of relationships I want are possible because I'm living it every day. Obviously each person would be unique and that's why I'm polyamorous because I know that and that's what I love about, building relationships with multiple people, friendships, partners, whatever it may be. But, you know, I have that relationship with somebody on this planet and I enjoy it. I see the value of it, and that's why I keep searching for it. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. And I just accepting that and being okay with that has helped me tremendously. Um, our relationship isn't a fairy tale. All right. So like I wouldn't but I would say like I wouldn't trade what I have with Dan for anything in the world because it's too precious. It's just too valuable. It's something that so many take for granted, and I don't take it for granted. We have a lifelong bond. No matter what happens, I know we'll always be there for each other, and that's something that some people just don't ever have in their lives. And So I'm grateful for that. And I realize that that means that I have experiences and understandings that some people might not have. Like when I go to therapy, my therapist even tells me that the relationship, the way that me and Dan communicate and understand each other is not something that she sees in a lot of relationships that, that she deals with. And like I knew for a fact, like with my ex partner and my abuser, they didn't have relationships like that either. Like I would even come to them with issues with Dan because I had told myself over the years that our relationship wasn't good. But now I realize that our relationship is far better than I thought it was, and I was taking it for granted in the past. And now after experiencing these bad relationships, I know for a fact that I won't be taking it for granted. I see the importance of it. I see the value in it, and it has shown me that most people don't have those relationships. Like, I remember hearing something from my abuser. Like, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's private stuff, but they're telling me something about their long term partner that they're unhappy with the status that they're living in, like a state, like something in their life they're not happy with, but they can't talk to their partner about it because their partner won't care. And to me, like that sounds so ridiculous in my mind. There ain't no way in hell I'm not going to communicate if I'm not comfortable with something. I will tell Dan and we would tell each other and we would discuss it. We would argue, we would debate, but we would get through it. And some people just don't do that. And I'm just like, that's the thing. Like you just sit there and you're not happy and you don't say anything. You don't bring it up. You don't it's just nope, you just don't do anything. Like I don't know. Like to me that's when it really made me realize how special my relationship is. Like not everyone has that. Obviously some people out there do have that, but clearly these people that I'm associating with don't have that. And that could be why they don't understand the things that I do and why when I go to Dan, I'm like, hey, do you understand why I was doing this? Like, he always just gets it instantly and understands exactly where I'm coming from and why. And like, these people are just getting it all wrong. And I'm like, what? How is this happening? Like, I feel like I'm communicating so clearly and they just are getting the exact opposite of what I'm trying to explain to them. And these are reasons why that can happen. Like they don't see relationships the way I do because they don't have relationships like me and vice versa. So, um just different life experiences can have a huge impact on the type of relationships you can have. So, for me, unfortunately, getting close to my ex-partner and abuser in the way that I was allowed me to see a lot of what they struggle with, a lot of, what they're unhappy with in their lives. And because I'm so caring, I care to help them. And, I'm not a friend or a partner that sits around and just watches people complain and suffer every day. Like, I'm going to try to help you and encourage you to make your life better. But neither of them wanted to make their lives better. They were okay with settling with what they had now. But they also were still complaining about it and acting like they're unhappy with it, which confuses me a lot. So they wanted to complain and do absolutely nothing, and the people already in their lives were either being lied to or straight up, just enabled their behaviors anyway. So if they can continue on without changing anything and putting in no effort, why not? The only thing making them have to change is me in their mind. It's my fault. I'm the annoying one. I'm the nuisance. So no wonder I caused them so much stress. It doesn't surprise me at all. No wonder they start abusing me and mistreating me and hurting me in an attempt to get me to stop caring because they just want me to shut up and let them do what they want to do. They know that, anything else wouldn't work with me because I'm going to care about them no matter what and want the best for them. So they're so afraid to just admit to me that, hey, I just want to be a crappy person. Can you stop trying to make me not a crappy person? Instead of them just telling me that, they just abuse me and mistreat me and like do everything possible but just tell me the truth. And eventually we all find out that that was the truth all along. Um but, so my job is to get better at recognizing that that's what's happening here. They don't want to be a better person. They want to keep things the way they are. And someone like me who's trying to push them to be better is a nuisance to them, annoying to them, frustrating, irritating. And I see this as a pattern in a lot of people. And it's also just, I have a habit of picking people who don't really want to be better people, but like they tell me, like when I'm first getting to know them, that hey, I care about growth, I care about being a better person, and that's what sucks me in the beginning. Because I'm like, hey, this person thinks a lot like me. We have the same mindset. Because I'm always happy to find people that have like a growth mindset like I do. But then when we actually start figuring out the not so great things about each other, you know, they don't want to fix it. So they don't want to address it. And that's just something I have to accept, that some people just aren't going to be the way I am in life. They're not going to want to grow. They're not going to want to, confront their faults and flaws and admit that they're wrong. Like that's just not something they're capable of. They'd rather just, keep living their life and tell themselves that what they're doing is okay because it's working, In their mind it's working. It's enough. They can live with it. So, yeah, and for me coming to this understanding, I just feel like I don't blame myself at all for like any of it anymore. Like I'm just a kind-hearted person with too big of a heart that picks emotionally unavailable friends and partners sometimes that claim they're something they aren't until I'm shown who they really are behind the scenes. So, you know, and then the biggest flaw I seem to have is that I don't know how to leave when it's obvious that I will never be treated fairly. In both of these relationships and past relationships, it becomes very clear that they don't care about how they're treating me. They care more about sticking to what they're doing than being a better person and not abusing me or mistreating me. And I need to realize that that's never going to change and leave those relationships. And that's something that, coming to this understanding, it makes it a little bit easier for me to do because it's like I understand all sides of it. Like I understand all perspectives. I understand why like aspects of my personality can irritate and stress people out. It stresses me out, but like I enjoy that stress because at the end of the day it makes me a better person. But for them, they don't want that in their lives, and I can understand that and respect that, but of course, as I said earlier, that does not excuse, any of the treatment that they gave me and to other people. Like, it's not okay to abuse people. It's not okay to lie and manipulate. All those are still terrible actions. It's not okay to enable abuse. Like, none of that stuff is okay. But I can understand where they're coming from. And I wish that we were just able to handle it in a more mature way instead of them turning toxic and getting so frustrated that they couldn't help but be toxic towards me. That's the sad part about it. I feel like all these relationships could have just ended with honesty and like clear communication, where it's like, I don't care about being a better person. And if you care about that and you're going to keep pushing me, this relationship won't work. And like with both of them, I would have been completely fine if they just told me that, but neither of them told me that and instead just continued to hurt me in various ways. And that's the thing that kind of sucks. They didn't have to end this way, but they did because they don't want to be honest and they don't want to communicate. And I mean, it is what it is, but I have to just get better at doing that for them. If they're not going to do it themselves, I have to be like, hey, this person is showing me who they are. It is what it is. I have to accept that and move on. So either I take a step back and I don't get close to them anymore, or I completely remove them from my life. And in this situation, both of them have been removed from my life. But I'm hoping in the future, if any of this ever happens again, I'm going to recognize it and be like, hey, I can't get close to this person. This isn't going to be healthy. I don't want it to get to a toxic point, you know, and I hope that I can do that in the future or get better at doing that in the future. And that's something that I'm currently discussing in therapy, like how to recognize that and realize that, hey, this seems like it's, these patterns say a lot about these people, and I need to make sure that I'm not, putting myself in these situations where I'm just going to let myself continue to get hurt repeatedly. I need to do better for myself and, for the people around me so that I can explain to them what I've learned and, be a role model or be someone that they can go to try and help them understand how to fix things in their lives. So as an ender, I wanted to talk about some things I have worked to change. I've worked on a lot of things throughout my therapy, and I think it's kind of important to discuss that and just be more detailed about it all. Um, so first, I wanted to say one thing I really had to work on doing is not getting too excited in relationships and contacting the person too often. That's something I would do a lot where I get so excited. Hey, I'm starting new friendships with someone in the Jack speedrunning community. This is so exciting, and I would end up messaging them a lot. So I did message my abuser and her enabler a lot. I was probably talking to them on like a daily basis. My abuser 100% and the enabler probably like every other day type communication. We talked very often, and we got really close to like me and my abuser. I think I would say that we got really close. If you're talking every day, almost all day to someone for months straight, you're gonna get close to them. That's just how it is. So even though they might try to make it seem like that wasn't significant, it is. It was. Um, but I was giving way too much of myself and being way too excited, and as a result, I ended up sharing so much and giving so much that that's why it hurt me so much when they did what they did, and I need to be more careful of that. I need to hold back. I need to not, be annoying like that because it can be annoying. It can be a turn off. It's something that people don't like, and I've really worked on that with current relationships. I don't think I talk to anyone every day except for my partners. And even then, I don't talk to my partners all day. So I think I'm at a place now where I talk to people every once in a while. I talk to friends every once in a while. We check up on each other. We care, but I only talk to partners every single day, and I probably would like to keep it that way. Like friends, we talk every once in a while, but partners, that's something that I want to talk to them every day, but we don't have to talk all day. Or like if they need time, if they need space to do their own thing, I respect that and things like that. I've really worked on that, and I think I've definitely seen a lot of progress with that. I was just acting way too heavily attached to people, and I think that was very unhealthy. I was just being way too reliant on other people, and I've come to learn that I need to validate myself, self-assure myself. I need to not try and seek those things from other people, and that was something that I was doing way too much, which is why I felt the need to talk to them so often. Okay, so secondly, I've been more honest with myself when I see the same patterns repeating themselves, as I mentioned before, and I'm more likely to realize that, these patterns I see, sometimes they have nothing to do with me whatsoever. It's more about how a person responds to someone like me than actually them responding to me individually. And that's something that's really helped me with healing. Like realizing that, they would probably respond this way to anybody that cared that much. It's not really anything that I did that made them do that to me. It's the fact that I am a caring person. I care intensely. I love intensely. Or do anything for the people in my life. Or, I want them to be the best they can be. And that is not something that most people can handle. And it's not really about me. It's about them and handling someone like that and, someone pushing them in that way. Not everyone can handle that. Not everyone's about that life. And that makes me feel better. It makes me accept what happened, but not blame myself for it. And I think that's really important. I also realized how much growth I've been through. I go to therapy and I feel like a completely different person because I am. Like I am so introspective that like I'm constantly learning from everything I experience. And it shows to the people that actually care about me, like Dan, my therapist, people who actually really care about me on a deep emotional level. They can see how much I've grown since I started therapy and since I've started really focusing on changing myself even before therapy because like I started working on self growth and focusing on that heavily like when I started streaming like about 3 to 4 years ago. So like I definitely am always progressing and growing, and I'm happy to see that. And that tells me that I'm not the person that a lot of these people try to make me out to be. Like if I was, I wouldn't be growing and moving through life as I am. And I'm really proud of myself for all the things I accomplish all the time. Um just constantly learning, and it's exciting. So like another thing is I'm learning to accept that most people in the Jack community and other speedrunning communities will not speak up, stand up, support me, or anything because of the way, the mods or the higher ups in the community handled my abuse situation. It's unfortunate, it's wrong, it's sad, but it's the truth. I had to really remind myself why I love streaming in the first place. Because I had to accept that I'm gonna lose viewers, I'm losing support. Like there are people in other speedrun communities who have no idea what even happened to me, who don't support me anymore. Like I literally just saw like someone from like Sly community unfollow me when they have never spoken to me about what happened. They have no idea what happened. They're just they just don't support me. They're just gonna assume what anyone else tells them, or the fact that the Jack community did absolutely nothing about my abusers. That's going to make me look like I was lying or I did something wrong, which is also why what they did was so harmful. It just hurts victims, but it's a story on its own. But I lost a lot of support as a result of all this, and all I did was, in the grand scheme of things, is speak out about my abuse and demand that you know my abusers be punished. And if that's what makes me have to lose support, then it is what it is. But, you know, it's been interesting seeing who those people are, like, and I'm just really grateful to the streaming community that I do have. I have like a really solid group of people that support me and have stuck around throughout all of this. And honestly, I'm just happy, like, I'm happy with that. Like, I'm so grateful for that. Um, I'd much rather have it like this than have, like, 20 or so people watching my stream where most of them are just gonna drop off the face of the earth because I got abused and spoke out about it. Like, if that's what's gonna make you go away, then you really didn't care about me whatsoever. So, I feel like right now my community has a lot of people that genuinely care about me, care about self growth, care about mental health, all the things I'm so passionate about. You know, all these people care and they get it and they understand. Kind of like how I say Dan gets me. My stream supporters get me on a level that a lot of other people might not get me. And that's something I really appreciate and grateful for. Um, so learning to find the joy in streaming because of the connections I've made and how much I've been learning, uh, and not worrying about view count and like how much support I lost, has been a big part of my growth as well. I feel like I'm not salty, as they say, about it anymore. And like, I'm kind of like, hey, this is probably for the best because now I have a way to rebuild myself as a streamer, as a content creator, and find people who are actually genuine and care about me and aren't just there because it benefits them or it's easy. Like it's obvious that a lot of those people were just there because I got a lot of support and they just wanted to leech off of that. And I don't want that. I just don't want that to be something that I have to worry about. So like now I just don't have to worry about that. The people that are there, I know they're there because they care. And that feels better. It feels good. So um maybe I'll never be a Twitch partner or anything like that or a huge content creator, but I'm definitely going to be making content for people that truly want to support me and care about me, and that's what I think matters the most, and I'm really happy to have gotten to that point. And I will finally say the biggest thing that I've been learning is, learning to be more patient in relationships, period. Like, just throughout all of them, no matter what type of relationship, platonic, romantic, whatever it may be. I'm learning that my needs matter, yes, but I can be more patient waiting for them to be met in some ways. But I also have to make sure that I'm not constantly sacrificing my needs for the sake of others, because that's something I would do a lot. And it's the reason why I get stuck in these abusive and toxic relationships, because I'm like, okay, I'll sacrifice my needs and, I'll just give them more time, they'll get it eventually. They'll care. They'll stop hurting me. But, that's not right. Like, I had to start learning how to set boundaries in all of my relationships, even with Dan, like, and be like, this is okay to do. I have a right to do this. I can be patient with you, but these are my boundaries. These is how far I will go in this situation. And that's been so much better for me, because I used to just get myself caught up in so much stress, uh, that other people would create around me. And now I'm just be like, okay, if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna go over here and do my own thing. I don't want to be a part of that. That's not what I need in my life right now. And it just allows me to separate myself from people's other people's issues, and not make it my own, and not make it something that I think I have to fix and I have to stress over. Um so that's been really, really healthy for me in all my current relationships, and I just hope that I can keep getting better at making boundaries. It's so important, and it's just something that I never did properly for so long, but I'm finally seeing the value of it. And um I can't say, like, it's changed a lot, honestly. So I've really been focusing on the benefits of boundaries in all of my relationships. So we're coming to an end. I can play some sounds, whatever. And I just want to summarize everything and say that, I've learned the most about myself, but, I've also come to terms with the reasons why others have behaved the way they did, and why they do what they do now. And it doesn't make all the pain go away, but, I know this trauma will stick with me for the rest of my life. That's how trauma affects me. Like, everything that's traumatized me this much never leaves me. But I get better at dealing with it. I get better at learning from it and using it to my advantage than it just being a big trauma that destroys me. I gave my full heart to my abusers, uh, her enabler, the Jack speedrunning community, and they basically just stepped all over it. I mean, that's the reality. So, of course that's gonna hurt. That sucks. And that doesn't just go away. But I can find peace in my understanding of the behaviors of others, and my full understanding and acceptance of who I am. And I think I'm finally accepting who I am, why I do the things I do, and trying to make peace with that, but also still work on the things that I know I can do better actively in all of my current relationships. And that's all that matters in life. Just knowing that, accepting who you are and knowing what you need to work on to be better. And that's where I'm at right now. And I know I deserve better and deserve better. I deserve better in the past and I deserve better now. But I have to find that better myself. I won't find it by just sitting around hoping for people to be good people, because that just doesn't work. And that's what this experience has taught me. Like, I can't expect other people to do the work that I put in. Most people aren't like that. And I have to continue, to put myself out there, and, like, that's what I plan to do. I want to keep making more content. I want to keep streaming. Uh I want to, branch out and do more. Like, there's just so much I want to do and accomplish, and I just don't want something like this holding me back. And I feel like finally I can just say that, I'm happy, I'm content, I understand it, I don't like it, but I understand it. And I think I can finally just move forward and create a new path and direction for myself. And I'm really excited for that. So, um, yeah, that's basically all I got to say this time around. I will say though that if you enjoyed this, please feel free to support me on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and any of my other content venues. I definitely plan to start doing more content on YouTube, especially. And I'm always tweeting on Twitter. You might not like that, but if you follow me there, you know what it is. And you can check it all out at my website, poly-mathical.com. And you can join my Discord. All of my links are on that page. um it should be accessible in the podcast somewhere as well. So like if you're listening on YouTube or you're listening from like the podcast website, I should have all of my links available there as well. But um if you care to support me and you want to go to other platforms and be a part of my community, that would be awesome and I'd appreciate it a lot. But either way, I appreciate you for just listening to my rambles today. I had a lot to go over and I think I covered everything pretty well, and I'm really happy with the way things are going in life right now. And yeah, thank you for listening, fellow nerds, and I hope to catch you next time on the next Poly Rambles. And the topic for that is probably going to be the topic I said that this episode was going to be. It was supposed to be, um, I think, just all of us. Just like talking about uh jealousy. I think, yeah, that's what it was. I think it was going to be like a jealousy and you know, envy discussion. And there's a lot I can talk about there with things I had to learn, things I had to overcome. And I just want to clarify, I don't ever expect to know it all, but I'm definitely trying my best to learn as much as I can. And I learn by doing. So I'm not going to just sit around and wait until I have enough knowledge. I'm just going to start doing. Yeah, frick it. But yeah, anyways, I'll catch y'all later. And you guys can enjoy a little outro.